welcome to a very unusual Takoma Park Election Forum. My name is Eric Bond. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Tacoma Voice. I'm joined by Bill Brown, who is the managing editor of The Voice, Tacoma.com, in case you were wondering. Every 2 years, residents of Takoma Park elect its city council and mayor. This year's election is unusual because there is only one contested race, which is in Ward 4, the seat currently occupied by Terry Siemens. He is challenged by Eric Mendoza. Eric Mendoza cannot be here tonight, so this forum fails to meet the minimal standards of a debate. Given those circumstances, we're approaching tonight's forum as a discussion of the state of the city now and the city of the future. It will be much more informal because none of the council members or mayor on the podium or on the dais are actually competing with each other for seats. We're going to start tonight by hearing from Terry Siemens, however. He will be, before we do that, let's go across the dais and could each of you introduce yourselves and tell us which ward you're from?
Sure. It's Kay Daniels Cohen. I'm from representing Ward 3. Ward 3 rocks. And that's it. That's enough.
Well done.
Yeah. We both live in Ward 3, so
Yeah, I know.
we agree.
I'm Bruce Williams. I'm the mayor, so I could say wards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Jared Smith, council member for Ward 5.
Terry Siemens, council member for Ward 4.
And Fred Schultz, council member for Ward 6.
Thank you. So, Councilmember Siemens, could you tell us a little bit about why residents of Ward 4 ought to elect you in the election on November 5th?
Well, thank you very much, Eric. And Eric and Bill, I thank you for bringing this forum for the community. And again, thanks to everyone here for coming out tonight and for listening at home. When I joined the council in 1999, the key issues for me at that time were management issues. I felt that we had a number of problems that surfaced over the first few years in the finance department, police department, recreation department. And I think we have, during my time on the council, successfully turned that around to where we have a very well-managed city government now. During that time, we built this community center and created a great resource for the community. After getting the facility built, it actually took us longer than you would expect to get the facility to be well used. We had to work on program costs, keeping the costs down. And I worked with my colleagues to bring back the Yes Basketball League, which is such a successful and needed program for the young people in this neighborhood and in the city. It has, I think, nearly 700 participants in the last couple of years. I've led efforts to open the basketball court out here beside the community center and found a way to reopen the Piney Branch Elementary School pool. We've continued to work on the management issues. Again, I worked with my colleagues on the council to develop a strategic plan for better management of the government and more accountability in our management. We successfully worked together to bring food programs for members of the community who are more vulnerable and increase funding for home repairs for our vulnerable homeowners, seniors who have on limited income and unable to do their own home repairs. Also worked with Montgomery Housing Partnership to bring them to the city to have expanded ownership here in the city and renovating the buildings Again, they're mixed-use buildings so that our lower-income neighbors can remain in the city as we've grown. I'm very proud of the participating with my colleagues on the council for some of the other programs, most recently environmental sustainability, decreasing the voter age and expanding the registration and making it easier to vote. You don't have to just wait till Election Day. You can come out and vote for me any time during the week, election week. And we continue to work on important issues like the Washington Adventist Hospital move and making sure that we have adequate services left behind when they do move. But during the coming term, I think we still have work to do with our strategic plan. We need to refine that plan. We need greater participation from the residents of the city, and I hope to help my colleagues make that happen. We need an improved budget process where we start earlier. We incorporate the strategic plan in our budgeting process so that we make sure that we're actually budgeting for those things that we consider to be the priorities in the city. And we need better metrics to see if we are meeting our plan with the budget. But the biggest issues that I think we face now here in the city, especially in my ward, are jobs. And I plan to address that in three prongs. One is, again, supporting the economic development that we've started to work on in the Old Tacoma area, the Tacoma Junction, and our other business districts, such as along New Hampshire Avenue. But I think we also need to develop a stronger assistance for our small business owners, and we need to seek ways that we can be more supportive of our small businesses and ensure that they're strong and thriving here in the community.
Councilmember Siemens, can you
I will wrap up. I just say that vocational training and other type of training for the young adults in the community is very important. We hear a lot of people talk about tired of seeing kids on the street, young people on the street, but they need jobs. They need some assistance in getting those jobs. So I'm going to wrap it up with that. But I thank you very much. I thank you for remembering my proven service to the community, my proven leadership, and I just ask for you to vote for Terry Siemens for Ward 4. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have a statement from Eric Mendoza, who, due to work commitments, cannot be here tonight. He sends his regrets. He says he was really looking forward to sitting down with the other Eric Bond. He says this: "This election has been a great motivation for my campaign and the people in Ward 4. All the hard work we've been putting in over the years is finally paying off, and we can see some changes now. We're not here for recognition. We just want the same respect as the other wards. Even though we live in different wards, we're still in one Tacoma Park. And thanks to everyone who has been reaching out to me on my views on 16 to vote. My campaign and I are grateful to take on that title of the leaders of the new generation, New Tacoma. His priorities are as follows: 1, racial profiling; 2, traffic and the speeding on Maple Avenue; 3, the renovation to apartments and rent increases; 4, car theft, public safety; 5, outreach programs; 6, let's find a way to bring back Carmen Lamb. Thank you, Eric Mendoza."
Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that's Ward 4. Those of you who are in Ward 4, those are your choices. Councilmember Siemens and his challenger, Eric Mendoza. We have divided up the rest of the evening into 2 different sections. We're going to start out by talking about current city issues. And we've received many questions from residents of Tacoma Park, and we will be asking council and mayor to respond to those questions. We are going to allot 3 minutes for each question. Now, how we're going to deviate from the past is that we're not going to go in a row and have each of you speak for 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Instead, we're going to ask all of you this question, and hopefully we'll have a conversation among you about, the best response to whatever it is that's, on the mind of the resident. We'll go through a handful of questions. If we have members of the audience who have current questions that you'd like to ask of the council, we ask you to write it down and bring it to us. Where's our...
Emily Rainey is here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there, okay.
Right.
So the young journalist here in the, with the thumbs up, she has paper and pen if you need it, and she'll deliver the questions to us. Now, in the second...
In addition,
Oh,
those of you who are watching, or anybody here who has the technology, you can also send a question via Twitter. You can send it to hashtag #TPElectionForum. That's #TPElectionForum.
okay, great. The second half of the evening, we'll be talking about the city of the future. So here we are in the 21st century. We're living in the future, finally. What is the city of the future going to look like? 25 years from now, what is Tacoma Park going to look like? And we've gathered several questions ourselves. If you have questions that are not related to a current issue, but maybe about how Tacoma Park is going to look in 2025, you can also give us that question, and our young journalist will deliver it to us. If you have a question about the future, on that card, on that piece of paper, write City of the Future, and then give us your question. So with that in mind, I think we're ready to begin.
Yeah. Okay, can I go with
Go for it.
my questions? All right, these are submitted by members of the public by email before the event. And I'm going to go with this one. We've gotten a number of questions about this. I'm going to combine a couple of these. One of them is a horrendous story, which I'm sure we'll all be interested to hear. Since July 1, there have been 21 residential burglaries in Wards 2 and 3. A person writes, I live on Sycamore Avenue and have been burglarized 3 times in about 5 years. Needless to say, my family feels very, very vulnerable. My 7-year-old is afraid to be alone in a given part of the house. My sister, who lives just down the street, was burglarized 2 weeks ago. So among my family, we've had 4 burglaries in 5 years. She goes on to describe that she had a CompuTrace on her stolen goods, but was frustrated that even though she could find out where they were, the Tacoma Park Police told her that they didn't have probable cause to give to the DC Police to go in and take action. So no action was taken, which was frustrating to them. So she says, so among all the crime questions, what are we going to do about crime? She says, I want to know how members of the council plan to hold our police chief and the rest of the department accountable for what feels like a ransacking of our neighborhood. I want to know if the council is certain they know if the relationship between the Tacoma Park Police and DC Police is adequate for an effective response to crime in Tacoma Park. Who would like to take that one?
Okay, since it's Ward 3,
Okay?
I'll rock with it. We have, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, had a meeting with the residents in Ward 2 and Ward 3 on Sycamore, Woodland, and Elm with the chief of police. And I think all of the robberies, the break-ins, have slowed down considerably because I think, and Chief Goldberg, shake your head, I think they may have captured many of some of the perpetrators. Getting everybody to lock their, this is a hard thing to say, lock their cars and lock their houses to make sure that it's a little bit more difficult to break in is one solution. Lighting is another solution. And I know that the chief and the residents talked about segways and electric bikes to be able, which is an expensive solution, but might work also, just so the bad guys know that that area is being is being really watched.
Thank you,
Who
Kate.
gets the segways and the electric bikes?
Say again?
Who gets the segways and electric bikes? The cops, the robbers, or the people who live there?
The police officers would get the segways
Okay.
and the electric bikes. And of course, at that point, the perpetrators are not stupid. They can do the same thing. I mean, they can tweet and get any information on any computer, anytime. They're not dumb.
So does anybody else want to jump in on
Yeah,
this?
I'll jump in. I heard a couple other things in that question, and I want to try to remember to address a couple of them. The first thing I want to say is that I think our police have been doing a great job of keeping our city safe. There are times like this when there are a number of incidents in a concentrated area, and it really upsets people, and I understand that, but I want them to know that the police have been doing a great job. They have had plain clothes in the neighborhood, and it really is helpful when, as Councilmember Daniels-Cohen says, people do lock their doors. I know in a couple of instances in that neighborhood, items that were stolen were just basically by an open window, that kind of thing, that makes it really difficult to stop all these kinds of things. And I think we have a pretty good relationship with adjacent agencies, MPD, the District Police Department in particular. There were questions just in the last day or two that the chief was answering about the technology and about being able to talk on the same radio frequencies, that there are still improvements to be made, and they're coming, but those technologies are basically close in terms of some upgrades to the radio systems.
Do any of you have a sense that perhaps the Tacoma Park Police need to be held accountable for doing an inadequate job, or that we need to do something different in the way we handle the police?
I would say that my experience with Tacoma Park Police, they're doing a fantastic job, but they do have limited resources. There might be an issue in Ward 3, but my constituents in Ward 5 will call me about, criminal activity. So then I talk to the chief and the senior command staff and ask them to surge resources into Ward 5. What happens? Some resources may leave Ward 3. It's an ongoing issue. I mean, we don't have a huge police department. We only have, I think it's 42 sworn officers. They have to try different ideas and different techniques to try to stop this criminal activity. And a lot of it comes from outside of Tacoma Park. So we do have to rely on agencies in Prince George's County and the District of Columbia, which makes it even more difficult.
I think accountability is important in managing any organization, and certainly our police department should be held accountable for their performance. I don't have a concern at this time with the performance of the police department. There are any one burglary is devastating to at least one family, if not a bunch of surrounding families. We recently had an attempted burglary in our neighborhood, and I know that not only affected the individual whose house was damaged by the attempted break-in, but also all of the families in the neighborhood around are now very concerned about what's going on, why the surge. I think what I would like to do as a council member is to work with the police chief to talk about what steps can we take towards crime prevention to try to push that down. We heard some ideas from Councilmember Daniels-Cohen. with educating the community about the need to lock their doors, lock their windows. We possibly could look at more security audits for homes, so that a police officer could go in, or a city staff member could go in and review homes to see if there are particular steps that they could take to improve the locks on their homes, or if there are environmental design things that could be done to trim bushes away from the windows, or better lighting. There are a number of steps. I think that maybe if we are weak, it's in the area of what we can do as a community to make our places more secure. I haven't heard that from the police chief that we're understaffed by any means. I think we're adequately staffed at this point, but I'd like to see us have 0 burglaries in the city.
We've done quite a while in this one question. It's clearly broken the 3-minute. I don't know if it was a rule; it was a guideline. But this is a big concern for a lot of people in the city, and so I think it's worthwhile. I have kind of a question I'd like to throw out there before we move on to the next question, which is, do you feel that we might be better off letting the county police our city instead of having our own police force with a problem like
they're
this?
ready for that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You seem a little crouched forward.
We know from having talked with the county about this very question, that if they were to take over policing in the city, they would devote about 40% of the resources that we currently deploy for the police department. So we have 42 sworn officers. They would have about 16 or 17. We would not get anywhere near the level of service that we get by the city being in charge of our own police department.
All you need to do is talk to someone who lives in the county of Prince George's, not in a municipality, and find out what kind of response they get. At the front end of this, I forgot to say, I also think that our police force, our full service police force, by the way, that is a full service police force, is doing an incredibly good job. For some reason, this summer, somebody figured out that Sycamore, Woodland, and Elm were easy targets, and they just kept on coming back. So I also believe that our crime statistics in the city totally are much lower than they've been in the last 10 years. I think I've seen that.
Okay.
And
We'd like to
let me just also point
Sure.
out that I
Quickly.
think roughly about 40% of city resources are devoted to the police department. So
Yeah.
it's the one biggest thing that we do.
Okay, we'd like to move on to some other questions. Councilmember Schultz, I know you didn't get a chance to say much, but if you have something burning, you can say it, or you can wait until the next
I'll
question.
get on my licks soon enough.
Okay. All right. Do you have another question, Bill?
Boy, they're piling up here. I just want to remind everybody who's listening that they can send their questions to us via Twitter to hashtag TP Election Forum. So where to start? Good Lord. Well, this is one specifically about Ward 4. Since that's a hot race, we'll do that one. There's a culture of separation between homeowners and apartment renters. Even though they share Ward 4, they are largely disassociated from one another. And some would argue that apartment renters are largely disassociated from the current Ward 4 council member as well. What are your thoughts about that? If you believe it is a problem, what are you going to do to rectify it? So I guess the obvious person to answer that would be Terry Seaman.
Thank you. First, I would like to say that anyone feels disassociated from me, I invite you to contact me at my home at 301-565-0190 or on my email at terrys@tacomaparkmd.gov, email-wise. I certainly strive to reach out to all the residents of my ward, and although I see some divide between the apartment dwellers and the single-family homeowners, I have worked diligently in my long time on the council to try to bring people together to work together on various projects and work together on community activities. Ritchie Citizens Association, under my leadership before I got on the council, expanded our membership from just Ritchie Avenue to include the Franklin Apartments. This year we voted to expand that further to include residents of other apartment buildings on Maple Avenue. My wife and several of our neighbors worked together to form the Tacoma Park Community Action Group, which reached out to both single-family homeowners and apartment dwellers to work together on holding community fairs and many other activities. But all those things don't matter if there's somebody sitting at home saying, "Well, but you haven't reached out to me." I'm sorry I've missed you. I look forward to your joining us, and there's a lot of community work to be done. We appreciate your help, and we appreciate hearing your ideas about where we should be doing more things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just add that Councilmember Siemens is tireless in going to all areas of the city and beyond in looking out for people and trying to connect them. He's done a better job of that than anybody that I've ever seen. And just one other thing that he didn't mention, various people got together last year and organized the World Festival, and there was the first one this spring, and I think people look forward to that expanding, and that's to try and bring everybody together from all backgrounds and from all neighborhoods and bring them together to celebrate.
And the council also passed a resolution that we can go in and talk to the apartment manager and get permission to go and knock on doors. That's never happened. Am I right? We did, didn't we? Yes. I mean, that is a major, major step forward for Ward 4, Ward 5, for sure, or vertical dwellers instead of homeowners. So, and I know that Councilmember Mayle has actually utilized that. He's seeing people that are apartment dwellers. I'm sure Councilmember Siemens is doing the same. So it's pretty exciting stuff. I mean, a lot of people said, oh no, but we still did it.
Okay,
I'd
well, I know
like
that's a
to,
perennial, oh, go ahead.
offer some comment on this. I think it's important when people feel like they're they are disassociated or some way, to remind everybody that communications is a two-way street. And I understand that tenants who live in these landlord-owned buildings sometimes are transient. They don't live here for maybe more than a year or 2 or 3. But still, I think we as a group, and certainly myself specifically, all try to make ourselves as available as we can. My city business card has my personal home phone number. And I tell people, if you call my number, either I'm going to answer the phone or my wife is going to answer the phone. They have my home address. They have my personal email as well as my city email address. I'm out and about driving around and walking my dog in the community. And I also encourage people to join listservs. And I realize, of course, that not everybody has a computer and not everybody is interested in getting on listservs. And that's fine. I can understand that. But we also have neighborhood associations that distribute flyers to all doors in the neighborhood about community meetings. So there's a lot of transactions and the possibility of transactions for people to take, regardless of what kind of an accommodation that they live in. And if people have needs, they have to take some responsibility on their own to contact me or my fellow council members or members of the government. And so, I mean, I want and I beg people, I literally beg people to complain. I said, If you're concerned, it doesn't do me any good. I can't help you unless you let me know what is burning on your mind, because then I can do something. But if you're going to not communicate that to anyone, then it's not easy to be useful to people.
Okay, thank you. And all of you have about 9 hours, right? Because questions are coming in. We have a lot to get to, and we'll figure out kind of how to maybe jump in a little bit more and keep things a little bit shorter on some of these questions. All of this whole discussion is all very, very interesting, and if we had 9 hours, we would sit here and do that.
We're used to sitting here for a while on Monday night.
Well, that is one of the questions. So now
but we've also cut it way down lately.
I've heard this. We have a question from the audience, and actually we have two questions, and one of them was a future question, but I'm going to ask it as a present question because I think it's a question for this council, not some theoretic council that is, running the city in 2025. So this question is, I've been waiting more than 20 years for decent retail on New Hampshire Avenue. What will the city do to make this happen?
Go, Fred.
Well, I guess that seems to come close to me in Ward 6, since New Hampshire Avenue bisects Ward 6 and includes the University Boulevard and New Hampshire Avenue intersection. And I share the questioner's concern, having lived one block off of New Hampshire Avenue for 27 years. And I've seen just in that period of time a lot of changes. We all used to shop at the Safeway store, and that disappeared about 5 or 6 years ago, and that was frustrating. There is a certain amount of things that the city can do, and has already done. And first of all, to point it out, is that working with Montgomery County, the county adopted a sector plan for that so-called crossroads area, which introduces the kind of development that could occur, the type of zoning that will regulate it, and urban design criteria that will tell a future developer what their buildings can look like that would be acceptable to the neighborhood. All of that is legally adopted, so developers now know what they can do. But having done that, that doesn't cause or force anybody to do anything. If you're a commercial property owner and you're making good rents, you may sort of say, well, why should I tear down what I have and put in new stuff? So I think that the city, and I feel strongly about this, has an obligation. And when I say the city, I mean us on the city council as well as our staff, to be proactive in trying to encourage, not just wait, say 7 years for the Purple Line to be open or something like that, but to be taking aggressive steps now to find developers or to encourage the current property owners to take advantage of the Tacoma Langley sector plan.
And I'll add that in addition to that, kind of that upper end of New Hampshire Avenue, we've also got the New Hampshire Avenue Gateway, East-West Highway, and on down toward Eastern at the district line. And we've been putting together planning efforts over the last few years to come up with what we want there. We have shopped those plans. We've worked cooperatively with Montgomery County, with Prince George's County, with Park and Planning, and with the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. And through that, we've come up with some grant funding to enhance those efforts, and like $1 million plus was recently awarded. And so there's going to be a lot more happening in terms of trying to make New Hampshire Avenue what we need it to be. And I'll say, just in reference to the Purple Line, that I think the Purple Line is going to drive a lot of redevelopment, and also the bus transit center that is due to be starting construction very soon. And the city was very active in supporting the Purple Line, and I testified a number of times in Annapolis on behalf of the city to support various transportation bills to get money to be available for the Purple Line. And I think those efforts have borne some fruit, and we're going to see the Purple Line, and that's going to make a big difference.
Okay. And I'm going to, go ahead.
Well, I'm biting my tongue here because this gets into what I wanted to talk about with the future. But since we're segueing, I'm going to break the rule and go right into it. We're looking at New Hampshire Avenue renovations with all the, as you say, the gateway, but all the way up New Hampshire, up to the D.C. border. We're looking at Long Branch. They're going to bring the Purple Line, and that whole segment around Piney Branch and Flower. That's got a new sector plan. We've got development happening at Metro. And, you know, all the pictures and stuff I've seen of this, it looks like Ellsworth Avenue in Silver Spring or Columbia Heights or Clarendon over in Virginia. It's all sort of mono architecture and chain store kind of things. And people talk about decent stores. You want to see decent stores. Well, there are stores there, but they're you know, they have diversity. They represent, you know, somebody's small little store that they've got that sells you know, ethnic bakery or records or something like that. So we've got all this stuff coming. This is going to change our border areas considerably, places that are just outside of our reach. And we aren't going to have any say what to do. And this is going to change the demographics. We're talking about gentrification on a massive scale all the way around Tacoma Park. What's that going to do to us?
I'm not sure that gentrification is going to change the diversity of the human beings that are I mean, you all have to understand, I live my life through rose-colored glasses anyhow. So I lived here when what we called Langley Park was first built. That was just land. And they built the movie theater. There was a big Landsberg's, which is, the building's still there. It was a very nice commercial area, all four corners. The hot shops, you know, all four corners where something was going on. There were 4 liquor stores. Well, not in Tacoma Park, there weren't any. Right. And we all have to remember, part of the issue is Tacoma Park stops at going north at the Taco Bell. University and the Taco Bell. It then becomes Prince George's County, and then it stops at Eastern Avenue. It becomes the District of Columbia. So there are some things we have no control over. I wrote down, you know, you had said 2025, and these are things. The Purple Line is completed. I don't want it to look like Silver Spring or Bethesda. I'd like for us to have some say in how it looks, and the fact that the community there is Hispanic. Let's let those Hispanic folks have something to say about what gets built there and how it gets built. What I fear is the single small business owners, because they're going to have to shut down while everything's torn down and built back up again, are going to not be able to stay alive. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just the way it might be. So, but it's all doable. It needs a little bit of planning. Probably a lot of planning.
Are we doing that?
Yeah.
I'll say that through the sector plan, and I'll look at Councilmember
Yeah.
Schultz because he and I worked hand in hand on this. We tried to make it, and the council, the whole council as well, tried to make it so that in whatever changes do happen there, that we can, as much as possible, retain the small businesses and retain the diversity that we have there and not just chase them out. So that as we looked at the zoning designations and the various things that happen through these new zones, the CR zones, that we can retain the flavor that's there now and just not make it homogeneous and looking like everywhere else. It's a hard battle to to fight and to win. And you have to pay attention to it all the time, and you have to really care about it and to make it happen.
Can I
And
give a for instance on that? You've got, the city has a plan on New Hampshire Avenue to have this roadscape that includes bike lanes, very advanced bike lanes, but the county is saying, no, that's where the rapid bus transit's going to go.
and
So whose plan is going to win? And
Well, we've let the county know that we think our plan is much better, and we have to continue to pay attention to that and to make sure that as the bus rapid transit system gets designed for New Hampshire Avenue, that our vision is the one that carries the day.
Right, and
will
I
it?
think,
In the future, we'll find out.
Okay.
I think, first of all, that we do have decent shops and we do have decent stores all throughout our city in the different business districts. The decency is in the eye of the beholder, the eye of the people who's going there, who shop at those places. And the fact that some people would like to see different types of stores, apparently the marketing analysis has said that the population doesn't support those stores at this point in time. But I think that as we look towards the future, Mr. Brown's point is well taken, that we're going to see a lot of development around Tacoma Park that is going to gentrify those areas, and we have to think about what we want in Tacoma Park, what we want to retain in Tacoma Park. We've been very proud of the fact that we are like a small town in the middle of this big megalopolis. And so we've, to some extent, already faced those challenges in the past, and we've made policy decisions that have kept us to have that small town character and the small town feel. And if we want to retain that, we have to continue to set policies that maintain that. And I think the mayor's example with the bike lanes and rapid bus transit is an example. We have to stand up and fight for those things that are important to our community, because we're talking about our community, the geography that is ours.
But another piece of that is that we want the commercial redevelopment so that we'll have the services that people want and need here, so we don't have to drive somewhere else to get them. We don't have to drive to Silver Spring or Bethesda or Rockville or the district. That people can use their feet or their bicycle or improve transit to get to that stuff and make it local, and have the additional benefit of providing some money to the tax coffers of the city to pay for the services that we need. We are overly dependent on single-family residential for our tax base. We know that. And we had a great example of this Monday night at the council meeting, where we had a budget amendment accounting for some new revenues coming in from one business that opened. And I had forgotten that they opened, Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese.
At Tacoma Langley. And our amusement and admissions tax is a 10% tax on, I think it's like when you have like games and machines that you put money in and we get 10%. The average amount per year that we've been getting from that tax has been about $600. Just Chuck E. Cheese will be contributing about $135,000 a year per year for that. That's an extra $135,000 in our revenues, which is the equivalent of about 0.6 of a penny on our tax rate.
So this is our juvenile gaming strategy. There you go. Okay.
But that business is an example of what just a few additional businesses up there that are good business models can mean for the tax base of the city, and therefore our ability to finance the things that we want to provide for all of our residents.
But it is a balancing act between, the revenues and what do we want as a community. And Eric's comment about, child gaming, is that really what we want? And if it is, then it is a benefit to the community. If it's not what we want, then it's a detriment.
We don't get taxes we don't get a chunk of sales taxes.
Correct.
Right.
No.
So if we get money from businesses, it's if there's a quirky law like that, or how else?
Or property tax.
Property tax.
Yep.
So if If the businesses are
And-
fancier, the property values
And,
go up.
and also from the business personal property tax, which is on the equipment, the inventory.
Oh, yeah, the one that they want you to waive.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Let me, can I add one thing?
Yes, please.
And that is, Bill, I hear this sort of apocalyptic vision of what's going to happen when the purple line comes, and that how gentrification is going to sweep over the Langley Park and East Silver Spring area, and I don't buy that. I think that this vision is erroneous, and the reason I say that is that my concern is are we ever going to find serious developers who are going to look at the Crossroads area or the Long Branch area and say to themselves, here's an area where I can do some serious reinvestment and build out these properties in accordance with the that is will be offered in each of those sector plans. I don't see any evidence of it at all. In fact, the property owners that I've talked to who hold large tracts of this land are saying, well, we're going to wait until the purple line's built. They're not saying we're going to wait until it's approved, okay, that which might be this year, and then we'll see. And so keep in mind as well that there's a lot of metro stops around the metropolitan area that have virtually no development around them at all. Look at West Hyattsville. That metro stop's been there for 20, 30, 40 years. I don't know how long it's been there. It hasn't affected that area at all. So
Even Tacoma Metro, it took them about 30 years.
yeah, I mean, so these things may happen, but if we're going to hold our breath, a lot of the people in this room will be pushing up the daisies before these things actually happen. So I think our goal is that we want to see development, but we don't want to see, quote, gentrification and economic displacement of small businesses. And what Mayor Williams is saying is that on our side of the county line, we've got zoning, I think, that will allow us to have our cake and eat it too, because it's extraordinarily innovative zoning as zoning goes in the United States. And I think it will provide us an opportunity. Now, I'm optimistic about that, but I think that change is going to come slowly. My goal, and I think our goal, is that we want to see all boats rise in this sort of thing. We don't want to see developers just get rich at the expense of what we have there now. But on the other hand, we all want to see more economic development and more choices when it comes to retail and restaurants and that sort of thing.
If I can just
sure.
say a few things. I'm not as I believe that the Langley Park area or the Long Branch area will see development. I think that it's so close to downtown Silver Spring, which has seen a lot of new apartment buildings, multifamily units, that it's natural for developers to move to the Long Branch area. Montgomery County's housing department, every day they're trying to figure out how to bring more affordable housing to Silver Spring. Montgomery County spends actual money to bring affordable housing. It's not just playing with zoning or managing paper like our department does for rent stabilization. They actually invest in it. So as more people move to Montgomery County, because right now the county has almost 1 million residents, a large percentage of those people need affordable housing. Long Branch is going to provide that opportunity. I don't think it's going to take 10 years for that to break ground. I think it's going to be something that's going to happen. It may not be the entire area, but we will see new development there, I think, in the next 3 to 5 years. You've already seen the facade changes on the 7-Eleven and some of those where the, I think it's Pizza Hut delivery place, where the landlord came in and improved all the facades. So now, if you go across the street where there's the Flower Avenue Theater, you have Giant Foods behind there, that also becomes an opportunity. If you look in Wheaton, that Safeway was completely redeveloped with multifamily apartments put on top of it. I think developers are looking at Long Branch because it's too expensive to continue to develop in downtown Silver Spring, and it's so close.
Makes sense.
Oh, I want you to ask a tough question.
Okay, I got some tough questions here, guys. Put on your armor.
These ones weren't tough?
No. This is, okay. There were, this person wrote and said that there were, and this is, I admit I didn't look into this too much, but this is what I'm told. There were 2 Freedom of Information requests in the last 2 years for council emails using their official government email addresses. After that, all of them started using a personal email instead of their city email. Why is every council member using their personal email for city business? And is it to shield them from having their communications made available to the public? Would the council members support a change to the city ethics regulations to require council members and city staff to use city email for city business?
If,
I like-
if everybody wants
Well, they
to
jumped in. Wow, okay.
our personal email, anybody can find out whatever we're sending that has to do with city business under our personal email.
The personal email is discoverable just as, and is
city email
required to
address.
be disclosed just as the city email accounts are. Personally, I've used my personal email address since I first joined the council. Have always used it, have disclosed every email I've gotten when asked for them, and every email I've sent. So I don't think there's an issue there. If for some reason someone feels that they have not received email conversations on city policy issues that have taken place, then they should complain about that to our city attorney or to the state's attorney general.
Okay.
I use both, and the reason being is that a lot of times when people send emails to my council email address, it ends up in my spam folder. So if I don't check my spam folder, I don't know you sent me an email. That's the only reason I use both.
And there was a wrong premise in there that council members were using their government emails, and then when there was a request, jumped to their personal email addresses. I think it was, if anything, it's probably more the other way around. We try and use our city emails whenever we can. I know a lot of times I'll use my personal email, but I always send to everybody else's government email, so that even though it's coming from my personal email, it's kind of caught in the city servers and foilable that way. And I know we've had requests, and it's easy to go through and come up with them all.
Okay, the term that the mayor uses, foilable, which refers to Freedom of Information Act, which means that people can apply and ask for government records, which include communications between government officials. And the
Includes
background,
those taking place on personal
right.
email address.
And further background on this is that there's the Maryland Open Meetings Act,
Right.
which has to do with that all meetings between more than 3 council members has to be public. Anybody can attend. And which is sort of, they say email does not come under that law. Neither does written communications. But I think a lot of people, I'm not going to say you're taking advantage of it, but you can use email to get work done so you don't have to call an open meeting. Is that fair?
No, I don't think that's
The
fair,
state's attorney
if I
general
can-
has said that email communications are not covered under the Open
Right.
Meetings Act for the reason that the conversation is not taking place concurrently at the same time.
Right.
But when someone requests under the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, the email discussions for a given policy issue, then
Can be disclosed.
it's disclosed, right?
But I can't imagine you get all your work done in open meetings, especially like here, just at city council member meetings. You must have some email traffic going back and forth.
I will
Can
tell
I
you
say-
that since, if I can just wrap up, since I joined the council, when I got on the council, I felt like there was a lot of discussions happening, in the hallway, and I think the council has really been very attentive to that, and we frequently remind each other when we're in a group of 4 or more that we shouldn't be talking about policy, or if the conversation shifts into a policy discussion, that we cut each other off on that. So I think the council has gotten very good at being attentive to that. I'm sorry, Fred.
No, I defer to you because you've got a race that you need to win, and I'll let you have the time. But to say something more on point, I think there's a sort of an idea that we can all kind of get together on the email and discuss issues, the 7 of us, and kind of process policy. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Emails is great for communicating and sort of saying, I think, to sort of express an opinion or an idea, but that doesn't mean any of us respond to it, or that we may not just say something totally the opposite. So it's a very fragmented process. And if we had to rely on email to get anything done among the 7 of us, nothing would get done. It's just, maybe it's even difficult to coordinate something that we all want to do and get on, like the council retreat or what it is we want to have for dinner at a closed session in the staff room. And the other thing I want to say is that the Open Meetings Act, which obviously is a good law because it protects the public, what that basically means, and this is something that it's frustrating, is that when one of us says, oh, I've got an interesting thing that I want to talk to my fellow council members conceptually about, I can't really have that conversation except for 2 of them at a time. Because to have it with conversation with 3 or more means that we're talking a public policy, and that's against the rules, and we all respect that. So then when do we talk about it? Well, we talk about it, we should, in a public meeting right here in this spot right here. But our public meetings have agendas, and they have form, and there's no real time except for council comment period to talk about something, and usually that's extremely limited time-wise, as it should be. And so it's sometimes very difficult to have explorative kind of conversations about substantive issues, because there's no real place for it to take place in the way that is allowed under the state's Public Meetings Act.
Yes.
Yeah, I know everyone on the I've only done this for 2 years, and everyone is very cognizant of what is Public Information Act, PIA, and if it even starts swinging a weensy to that, stop. The talk has stopped. I didn't go to a meeting last week, a breakfast meeting, because I would have been the 4th council member, and it would have caused us to not be able to discuss, it's caused everybody to not be able to discuss any policy, and it was going to be something probably policy was going to be discussed at. So we're really hugely aware and take great care in not crossing that line where it's supposed to be, public and we're, just us people secretly talking amongst ourselves.
I see you all got together on this answer.
Just a reminder that the operative rules here concern a majority of the council talking about anything that is legislative or could lead to legislative action. So that there are things that, if it's not legislative, it's not covered by that law. So that when we have a closed session, those things are covered by that law, but there's a reason why you can close the session. We close them in public and we give the reason. If it's not covered by the law and we're going to talk about something, it's an administrative function session, which means it's things like oversight of an employee like the city manager.
Right. Okay, we should move.
Yeah, we should move on. Do you want to ask a question from the audience here tonight?
Yeah, well, while we're doing hard ones, okay, Councilmember Smith, get your armor on. Given your effort to overrule the recommendation of the Citizens Advisory Committee and give grant money to an organization they did not recommend, but with which you had personal familiarity, long sentence here, could you comment on the appropriate role of Citizens Advisory Committees in preventing favoritism or corruption among public officials in giving grant monies? As an editor, I have to say that's a very long sentence.
This had to do with, there's an organization in the city called EduCare. It is a food pantry. They also provide workforce development and computer training for residents in Tacoma Park, and at their location at Grace Methodist Church on New Hampshire Avenue, they do it for residents of Prince George's County also. The only way I knew about them is when I read an article in the Gazette newspaper. I had never met the executive director. I had never met anyone's staff of the organization. All I did was read an article and said, these people are doing great work. There is the name of the committee that you mentioned brought forth a number of organizations that the city should give grants to. And one of them was Food for Montgomery County, Healthy Food for Kids in Montgomery County. I believe that's the term, the name of the group. My issue with them is City of Tacoma Park, even Montgomery County Council does not have control over the school system. We cannot tell the school system what type of food they should provide the students. So why are we investing any money into an organization, and it was only $2,500, that is not going to change the type of breakfast, lunch that the students are going to be provided? And at this time when this request came up, I believe it was during the winter, there is a large need, according to this article in the Gazette, for people to have food. This was like in November, December, during the holidays. So it made sense for me to try to provide some of that need, to try to provide food for those families that are in need during the holidays. So that's why I said that EduCare should get the grant rather than this other organization where they would not have any impact on Montgomery County Public Schools. It's a separate body. The other thing is these committees and commissions are advisory. Whatever they tell the council does not mean that the council has to follow their conclusions. All they are is giving their advice to us.
Okay.
But I will say that we've tried to expand the opportunities for those committees to make recommendations, particularly about small grants that we might do or large grants that we might do. And what we want to do is make sure that, to the extent possible, that the recommendations and the information that we get come to us, and that we can get good information from those committees on which to base decisions, rather than us get involved in all of the details of that. So to the extent possible, to push that away from us having to make kind of nitty-gritty decisions on that, which doesn't preclude what he was just
Do you
saying.
generally follow the recommendations of the advisory committee?
Generally.
Okay. And this is, the city makes grants, so they have two programs, the small grants and the large grants. This was a large grant?
Small grant.
Small grant, okay. And you have certain guidelines, and you have a committee to help you decide.
Right.
So that's
So,
what
and
you're-
so we're trying to combine small grants, the large grants, and the community development block grants, and have that all go through one
Yeah.
committee.
Okay.
Great.
How are we doing on time?
We're not doing great on time. So it's 8:40, and I don't know, so obviously we're not going to get to all of the present-day questions.
Okay, but we do have these written down, and we can make them available and get written responses to these if we haven't tired you guys out too much.
Oh, great.
We're not any closer. Look, we're used to being here till 11 o'clock, so
Yeah, I know.
we're just getting warmed up.
We're feeling for the audience, however.
Yeah.
Lately, we've only been here till 10.
Right,
So we could,
Yes,
We
you
can
have.
go till 12:30, you know.
yeah. Thanks. Do we go to next term or future? What do you
yeah,
want?
let's go to the future,
Okay.
or let's go to next term first. Yeah.
Well, here's a segue question. And it's one of the questions that was submitted. After reelection, what are your top priorities for the next 2 years? Which is, what I was going to ask, what is your agenda for the next 2 years? What do you hope to accomplish?
Let me-
Now, on this question, I really will be timing you, so,
Okay.
none of you go past a minute.
I'm fascinated. I don't know about you.
I'll-
No, go ahead.
I'll give a plug for our, what's the phrase I want? Our strategic plan. We have gone through that and pulled a number of items from that are in the current budget going forward. And we're going to have a council retreat. Each one of us has basically prioritized them. I think there were 37. We ranked them 1 to 37. And we're going to get together and have a retreat on November 12th at Washington Adventist Hospital. It is an open meeting, so people who want to come can come. And we're going to discuss with a facilitator our priorities, and that will give us, I hope, a firm basis for both the council and the staff to go forward with the priorities of the city and not just have it be each of our priorities separately, 7 different sets of priorities, but to get a real sense of what our priorities are as a group.
Okay, see, strategic plan.
Yep.
Okay.
I can tell you that I think the top 3 priorities is resolving with the county the issue over municipal tax duplication, because that threatens us seriously. Second is dealing with the certificate of need application from Washington Adventist Hospital that will be probably allowing them to relocate to White Oak, and that also means what happens to the what kind of medical services will be at the Tacoma Park campus. And number 3 is seeing that the Crossroads area continues to move forward with regard to economic development in the broadest sense of the word.
Thank you.
I think I answered this question in my earlier statement, but I would just like to expand on that and talk about the one specific thing that I think is the number 1 priority in Ward 4, and that is the assisting the young adults to reach a higher level of self-sufficiency. And I'm talking about getting a job and getting better jobs than what many of them are able to today. I was able to support my council colleagues in getting money into the Man Up program this year for mentoring of some of the young people, and $20,000 into the budget for vocational training this year. And that was something that was new for us, and it's greatly needed. It's moving us in the direction that we need to go. We need, this year and this coming term, I want to see how the city can be more supportive of getting the training and assistance that the young people need so that they can be contributing members of the community. Thank you.
Okay.
There are a number of issues that are important to me, and specifically Ward 5 in this next term. One is Washington Adventist Hospital. It is in Ward 5. It's probably arguably the largest institution in the city. What happens on that site will have a ripple effect throughout Tacoma Park. So we have to get it right. Them moving, what is left behind, who backfills that space. Me personally, I'd love to see Washington Adventist University play a larger role on the campus. I've already talked to some of their administration about it. It is something that they're thinking about. Another item that's important to me is this past summer I created a lunch and learn program at Essex House. This is the first time this has ever happened. I provided free lunch through Montgomery County Public Schools and a literacy learning component through our library.
I'm going to cut you off, and we're going to come back to that.
Okay.
Okay, I made a note.
All right.
I'm going to move on to hear what
Those are my
Councilmember Daniels. For
important
once, I'm
points.
sticking to my clock. Okay.
All right.
Things I need to get completed in these next 2 years are the Sligo Creek Overlook Park. We started with Pinecrest about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago, and it just, I don't know that it got put on the back burner, but it feels like the back burner. So they requested a playground right next to the 460, the VFW, and we're working on that. We have the land, we've got the plans. We're also working on all of the sidewalks they requested 2 years ago, and that's in the game plan. Other things, I wrote down utopia. I probably spelled it wrong, but I've been trying to get the crosswalk back in at the Co-op and Grant Avenue for many years, because that's how it used to be. I want to see that happen, and that's going to be making nice. for the
Time's up.
Highway Administration.
Okay.
Oh, good luck.
I'm
And you
done.
didn't give me a time's up, so I'll say tax duplication, tax duplication, tax
Tax
duplication.
duplication.
Okay,
Tax
which
duplication.
actually, and I am coming back to the lunch and learn, because I'm very interested in that. But when Councilmember Schultz talked about tax duplication, it reminded me that we're talking about 25 years in the future. Now, I'm very aware that 25 years ago in the past, a certain newspaper in town started. And one of the issues that was discussed in that first year was tax duplication, right? So here we are 25 years later. So 25 years from now, will we still be having a discussion about tax duplication?
Can we give a brief tutorial on what this is so people who are watching know?
There goes the time.
Okay. Briefly, we get taxed by the county for services they don't provide us because the city provides us those taxes, which we also have to pay for. So we're paying both the city and the county for the same services, such as public works, recycling, library, police force, recreation. We get some back, but not a lot. And they've just they're threatening to come out with a new formula, which really is not very kind to us.
Yeah.
Like 40% less or something.
There's
60%.
there's
60%.
two basic ways that this can be addressed. One is a tax offset, where people's tax rate, their county tax rate, is lowered by the amount that the county doesn't provide the services. So it would result in the county tax rate going down and the city tax rate going up, hopefully by not as much. That happened in Frederick County, and it didn't go up as much. Or the tax duplication payments, which happen now, which is everybody has the same tax rate to the county, and for the services we provide, money comes back. The county is basically the 800-pound gorilla in this. They set the rules, and if they don't want to pay us, they don't pay us. And so the battle over the years has been, it should be more. We need to fix the formulas. We've tried to fix the formulas, and where we are right now is, in trying to fix the formulas, they said, oh, gee, we'll keep a bunch of your money, and now we're going to do what you were just describing, Bill, where they're proposing to make it so that we only get 40% of the money, and the rest of the money is maybe available as a grant, and we would have to apply for it every year, but it's for covering continuing services that we provide. So basically, the county is keeping our money.
I'll just
Making
say
it a lot
that
more expensive to live here.
I'll just say that I think your story is going to be the same 25 years from now that it was 25 years ago, unless we annex the rest of the county.
Okay.
I'm more hopeful than that.
Okay, everybody. Bill, did you have a question about the city of the future you wanted to?
City of the future, I do. All right, although I'm torn here because you were talking about the Washington Adventist Hospital, and this person says that the certificate of need says that it's just been sent. Oh boy, this is a complicated issue. The Washington Adventist Hospital is leaving town. They're moving to a different location. They want to. They've applied to the state to do this. They've just filed their application, and this person says that, who apparently has read it, says that it leaves only services for low-income people and the mentally ill. What will the city do to ensure there will be quality health services, including an emergency room for all of us? And I understand they can't have an emergency room; it's got to be urgent care, which I don't know how that difference. But if you could briefly deal with that.
And let me first say that we're going to have a presentation and a public hearing on December 9th. That's a special meeting, and it's only going to be about Washington Adventist Hospital. The president of the hospital is going to be here and make a presentation about what it is they're proposing in the certificate of need. Then there's going to be an opportunity for public comment, and then there's also going to be an opportunity for the council to discuss it. So that's going to be the sole topic of December 9th.
Is this an accurate representation that they're only going to leave services for low-income people and the mentally ill?
No.
Okay. No, he said no. Okay. Oh, okay. The future. Here's our top question. Will Tacoma Park ever have a nightlife?
We have a nightlife now.
We have a nightlife.
The part where everyone goes to bed? Or,
We have a lot more nightlife than we used to. We have a lot more going on in this building than we used to. This room is now multi-purpose instead of a dedicated council chambers. There's all kinds of performances going on, things to do. Granted, we are not, Logan Circle, DuPont Circle. We are not those areas, and I don't think people want us to be. But I think there is a lot more going on, and I look forward to the new restaurant opening in town very soon, Republic, and that will be open, I think, until 11 o'clock, and we'll have bars, and there's the Olive Lounge, and so there's more going on where there's opportunities for some evening activities.
You drop by the Olive Lounge almost any night, and I don't think you can even get in there. There's so many people there.
well, this crowd would fill it up. It's small. It's great. We love it, but it's small. We could use
Yeah, it
this-
is small.
Yeah.
But,
And no room for music or anything like that, or dancing or anything like that.
yeah. So you want music and dancing girls?
Well, I don't know if I do. Well, always. But some of the younger people we want to bring into the city, because my observation is that the people are moving downtown, and there's quite a scene down there for young folks, and the city is coming back to life, but everyone is moving there from here, or from the suburbs.
The Tacoma Park, the junction, make the junction function is what I call it. In all of our questionnaires, people said food, people said traffic, people said parking, but no one said dancing and nightlife. And we got more food, and we got
More traffic.
Well, we got more traffic, of course we did, and parking, yeah, but and I guess if somebody had said nightlife, we could have thrown in dancing girls and boys and everybody.
Discos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Disco. Disco balls and whatever.
I think that nightlife, what the definition of nightlife depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
But I think that the redevelopment that's going to be occurring in the Long Branch area, one of my dreams would be to see somebody take the Flower Theater and convert it into either a place where there was music and drama, or into an arts theater, something that can compete with the theater in Greenbelt that we go to about once a month, because there's no other theater that shows the movies at the price we want. That could be a wonderful opportunity. The CR zoning that's being imposed will give. There's incentives for developers to do sorts of things like that, meaning that if they can build this kind of vital commercial development, let's call it that for lack of a better term, they can get more density. But that's going to take some time, but I think it can come. I think it's already coming. I mean, I think we see what's happening with Republic, and Bus Boys and Poets is coming, and stuff like that.
I think it harks back to the earlier question about better businesses on New Hampshire Avenue. It's the same concept, and that is each of us know what we think is going to be a better Tacoma Park, and that's why it's important that we spend a lot of time on outreach to the community and getting community members to participate in the visioning process for the city.
And I think there's a publication that comes out once a year called What's So Special About Tacoma Park. And I think if everybody reads that, I'm not going to say who publishes it, but if everybody reads that, What's So Special About Tacoma Park, you will be shocked at all the things. I mean, it's tight, all the things that go on every week. So, I mean, it's really pretty exciting. I read it and I can use it almost every week.
So we have good day life, that's what we have.
County Council Member Hans Reamer is leading the task force to create a nightlife entertainment for Montgomery County. I don't think.
Task force for that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's a.
Check with them, okay.
I don't think there's going to be nightlife as they want in Silver Spring or even Bethesda in Tacoma Park. I don't think that the storefronts are big enough to handle the capacity that would make sense for a tenant that would want to run a bar, and you can't even run a bar in Montgomery County without serving some type of food. And, I don't think there's going to be any type of clubs. I don't think the residents want anything like that in Tacoma Park. So, yes, you may have more restaurants. Restaurants may stay open later. Quality of those restaurants will improve, but we're not going to have a nightlife like traditionally people think of it.
And if people want to read a good article that explains kind of the differences in how various generations think about this, there was a good article in today's Post in the dining section on millennials and boomers and how the two age groups see things very differently.
And Tacoma Park, yeah, I mean, I think everybody here knows, was basically built on an not an anti, but a no drinking. I mean, there was not a liquor store inside within the city limits of Tacoma Park, and I'm not sure there's even one today.
Well, there is one
One-
on ShopRite.
Okay, and I know Taliano's. When I saw Taliano's and it said, it was a place you could get a drink, I went, oh my goodness. B.F. Gilbert is doing flip-flops in his grave because that was not, the deal.
Well, here's my question, my City of the Future question. When I look at Tacoma Park, and having covered Tacoma Park for, 20 years or, thereabouts, there's been a lot of change, but one thing that has remained has been a commitment to economic diversity. A lot of places in the country people talk about diversity, but Tacoma Park focuses a lot on the economics of diversity, and so there are rental policies in place that encourage a diverse people from diverse economic situations in this city, and makes it fairly unique in Montgomery County, in any of the surrounding areas. Now, the homeowners have seen this, boom in the value of their homes, and I think that it has been reflected in, perhaps the incomes of new residents coming into Tacoma Park. Look ahead 25 years from now. What are we looking at, do you think, in terms of economic diversity? And then if you care to, do you think we want economic diversity? If so, how are future councils going to keep that in place? If we don't want economic diversity, stand up and say that. We want to look like Kensington or Bethesda, Okay.
I don't think we want to look like any other jurisdiction. I think Tacoma Park takes great pride in our diversity, and the diversity, economic diversity, is really the bottom line factor there. And people move to this city because of that diversity and because of the character and the reputation that the city has built and that we continue to try to build as being environmental leaders and all other things. But the diversity of incomes that we have by residents in our city is a big part of what makes this city special and why people want to live here. I think it's going to be a real challenge to maintain that diversity, and something that the council is going to have to, examine ways to maintain that, especially as the economy picks up. We started to see some of the dissolving of that diversity back when the housing boom was going on, because owners of apartment buildings found that it was a moneymaker for them to convert their low-income apartment buildings to condominiums and sell them at a high price. I think we've had a little hiatus in that with the bad economy, but I think that as we move forward, the council is going to have to work with city residents to see what do we really want, and how are we going to set policies that maintain the level of diversity that the community wants.
I think we also have to remember that even with the more expensive single-family homes in town, we're still relatively affordable in Montgomery County. You know, we have probably on average among the lowest median housing prices. So it's not just affordable rental housing, but it's affordable owner opportunities as well. It may not seem that way when you look at the price and, relative to what some of us paid for our houses and what they're going for now, but it's still relatively affordable compared to the rest of the county.
Well, we've got a lot of these new people coming in, and the kind of people who can afford to live here now are not necessarily know our history or appreciate it. I mean, are there ways? Is there anything the council can do to encourage the knowledge of that history? I mean, at one point you talked about having, I think, was a wall of fame or
And we
something like that.
We set up having a committee to kind of recognize the history of our people and recognize that, so that we don't forget all of that. We do a little better job of kind of recognizing our buildings, but not the people. And so I think this coming Monday night, we're going to name the first couple people of that committee and look for ways to share the history of this community with everybody.
I think that the council should continue to support Historic Tacoma and some of their events that talk about our history. I know I've had coffee with Nancy Abbott, whose father this building's named after. She's releasing a lot of his documents to Historic Tacoma to give some perspective, some context of some of the battles that we're fighting now that were fought, many years ago. But yes, Historic Tacoma, I think, would be a great entity to push what Tacoma's Park is about, what our history is, and what it means to live in Tacoma Park.
Okay.
Yes, as we get farther and farther away from the Lee Jordans, the Belle Zieglers, the Sammy Abbotts. It's more and more difficult to continue the history, because there is a rich, exciting history that this city has. From the very beginnings in 1890 at B.F. Gilbert buying the tract of land, going to Battle Creek, hooking up with the Seventh-day Adventists because they had health as one of their major tenants, bringing them down here, and then the city growing from there. It's awfully exciting, and I'm just going, the minor skirmishes, plus all of the volunteers, all the people that are involved in making the city actually operate. People that don't get paid for anything, they just do it. So it's very unique, and I don't think it'll ever be a Bethesda. As long as I'm around, I'm not going to let it be Bethesda. Bethesda's great, it's fine, but Tacoma Park is Tacoma Park, and very, very, very special.
I seem to recall an Opal Daniels.
Oh, yeah,
also.
did I leave her out? Opal, I left Opal out, and there was Henry, too, so.
Let me add
Yes.
something here. My judgment is that, and I don't have any proof of this at all, that we have in this city probably a 7 to 8% turnover of residents, new residents every year. So, and I think that's probably conservative, because probably in your rental units it might be a bit higher, a good bit higher than that. So you could think that maybe if that's accurate, then in 5 years you've got basically a third of the city is going to have been new people who've been here 5 years or less. And why I say that is that Tacoma Park's going to change. It's important, like my colleagues have said, to revere our past, to make sure that the people who come here know about it, so that they understand the institutions we have, why we have them, and why they're going to continue. But the city of 25 years from now has got to be somewhat different than it is today. But when you look at the housing stock, it's going to attract certain kinds of people. And certainly historic areas, you've got Victorians that are going to attract a certain kind of people. And in my wards, you've got 1950s ramblers that are going to attract a different kind of an income bracket. I think that also helps to sort of predetermine that this is always going to be a very mixed city economically. There's a lot of, the range of housing in this city is extraordinary, price-wise and image-wise. And it's important we always keep that in mind, because if you just look at one neighborhood and generalize from that, you can get off base very easily. So we're going to change, but listening to the people, when I talk to people, as I've been doing the last few weeks door to door, most of the people I find, love this city. They love it the way it is. That's why they came here in the first place. And so I'm not going to change it. It's not for me, even if I sat on the city council for 25 years. I think the city is going to be pretty much like it is now because of the people want it that way.
Another question? How are we doing on time?
It's 9 o'clock, so we've been going an hour and a half.
Okay, should I make this the last question?
And then we have to ask Councilmember Smith about the Lunch and Learn program.
Okay. Well, maybe we should do that first.
Okay, so that's a tie-in actually to the role of the city in helping out residents. So explain a little bit about what you were saying about Lunch and Learn, and then we'll move on to our next question.
Okay,
Thank you. I cut you off.
All right. So this summer, I created a Lunch and Learn program. I hosted it at Essex House apartment buildings on Maple Avenue. The concept was that during the summer, those kids that receive free lunch or breakfast, only 20% of that population gets it during the summer. So there is a huge need. So I tried to figure out a way to solve that problem. So I worked with Montgomery County Public Schools to get the free lunch from them. Got residents of the apartment building to act as volunteers to administer the Lunch and Learn. So there's 72, according to the landlord, there's 72 kids that live in the building. 65 of them attended the Lunch and Learn program that was held Monday through Friday. It turns out that more kids wanted to read the books than those wanted to actually get the free lunch. So I worked with the library to continue to bring us new books so that the kids had, more reading opportunities. We also got teenagers that lived in the building to act as kind of like mentors, tutors for the kids, so that those kids could get their service hours. The idea for next term is to roll it out to more apartment buildings, not just in the Tacoma Park, but throughout the county.
Okay, great. And actually, I think we'll probably be talking to you more about this later.
Okay, before the last question, I have some announcements to make. I've been asked by Jesse Carpenter, the city clerk, to tell everybody that what the early voting schedule is. It's going to run from October 30th to November 3rd. Wednesday through Friday, it's from 2 to 8. Saturday, it's 10 to 4. Sunday, it's noon to 4. And you just go to this place, the Tacoma Park Community Center, 7500 Maple Avenue, and there will be signs directing you to a room. Also, for those of you who are here, there are posters over on the side here that if you want to take them home and post them on in your apartment building or someplace. There are also absentee ballots. Those of you at home can print out absentee ballots from the TV, from the website, the city's website. And finally, I'd like to thank our young journalists, Emily Rainey and Leila Sarkovic, who are here helping tonight. And so the question is, in the year 2025, will we be able to drive through the junction without cursing the traffic lights while we were sitting there waiting for them to turn or waiting for traffic to inch forward? Will we ever solve that traffic problem?
Shouldn't be a problem because you shouldn't be able to buy gas by then.
Okay.
I'm back to make nice with the SHA. I think it will also, remember the rose-colored glasses? Okay. I think it will also be solved. I know they're not going to move the building that's blocking, because that's historically preserved. But I think it can be solved. Someone just has to sit down who's a traffic engineer and make it happen.
So you're talking traffic circle?
I don't think a traffic circle will solve the problem, but I've always didn't think, the traffic circle can only be about this big, not really, a little bit bigger than that, but a traffic circle won't solve the problem. There's still going to have to be stoplights. I think if they would just move the stinking crosswalk and change rebuild the bus bay so that it's ADA accessible, or move the stop over to in front of the Liberty Station, I think all that could be at least addressed. At least try it. But I've been saying all along, we have to make nice with State Highway Administration and see if we can create a relationship and see if we can talk them into maybe trying a couple of new things.
Okay.
I think we'll remove the worst of the encumbrances, the worst of the blockages, like Councilmember Daniels-Cohen was saying, dealing with the bus bay in particular. But I think given that intersection and the place that it is and the roads that come into it, it's going to continue to be an issue for a long time until there are enough alternative modes of transportation that there aren't as many people in their cars commuting through Tacoma Park.
Any other comments on that?
It's a fun little project.
Yeah. With the nice SHA, yes. Okay.
So it seems a shame to be wrapping up when it's becomes, more clear than even during a traditional forum that we are just barely scratching the surface of the concerns of the citizens. We have so many questions we didn't get to. So because of time, I think that we will be coming to a close. But between now and the election, we'll be doing our best to get questions to you. We see several issues that residents would like to see addressed. We have a reporting staff who we will be assigning these stories to, and so you should be fairly busy fielding questions from us over the next couple of weeks as we try to get to as many of these as we can.
I will look forward to those.
Yes.
I think it'd be great to have these questions because some of the questions you've asked tonight have forced us, I think, to think about our answers. It's just not glib answers, and so please send them along.
Okay, we will.
And I'd like to make an offer to you. I'd be happy to work with you both to recreate this setting sometime in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Come back to this, do this again with all of the council members, with advance notice to folks and have a conversation and have a forum and talk about issues about the future and where we need to go and what the problems are and how we can fix them.
And when we do this again, we'll make sure that there's something under everybody's seat that they can take home with them.
Okay. Because, one question, surprisingly, that didn't come up was sustainability. Nothing about environmental,
No.
anything, or is
Well,
it
that's the
there?
last election.
You just didn't have the time?
Well,
It's on our list.
You
yeah,
just
we
didn't
do-
pay attention to it?
No,
Okay.
we did, and we didn't get to a
Yeah.
lot of, there were all controversies that no.
But this is a nice format to have a
Yeah.
discussion. You're not all sitting at your regular
Our
desks
safe
talking.
desk. Our safe desk.
And also, it's nice to see the public participation.
Yeah.
Many of the answers that we had tonight were that it's the public that really decides what we're going to be in the future, and we need
Bring
that
them
participation
down so we're all
to know
close.
that.
As we're going out, I do have a very quick question, which is I'd like you to grade the current council on a scale of A to F. So where do you think you are as a council if you were grading this council?
I'll answer. I think it's been a grade A council for 2 years. Activist, listened to everybody, voted on some really important issues that could have changed the city. 16, I know everyone's going to go, oh, get out. But if 16-year-olds are 16 by the day they can, the election day, they can vote in our elections, as can parolees that are not necessarily completed their time. They're just paroled. And the open, what am I thinking about here? You can register up to the minute you go to vote if you have the right credentials. So, I got to tell you, this has been a humbling experience for me because I'm usually one of those guys out there, at the council. This is a whole different feeling to be on this side, and it doesn't move. I did it because I wanted to make it move faster. Guess what? It's moved a lot faster, but not as fast as I'd like to see it move. I want to see it really move.
I'll go last.
I don't know if I can give it a grade. It's been an interesting experience. There are a lot of issues, I think, that are before the city, like tax duplication, the redevelopment of New Hampshire Avenue, and what happens to Washington Adventist Hospital that are in front of the city that are going to change who Tacoma Park is. A lot of our residents, especially lower income residents, use Washington Adventist Hospital. Once that is gone, the nearest full-service hospital will be in the District of Columbia. So where will people go for health care? Now you have the Affordable Health Care Act that's going into effect, so you'll have even more people that will have insurance and the ability to go to a hospital. So that's going to be a big change for the city. There aren't very many 17,000 person cities in the country that have full-service hospitals. So that changes who we are as, Tacoma Park. A lot of our businesses rely on the staff of the hospital for customers. So during those lunch hours, during those late dinner hours, where are those businesses going to get customers? That's something that we as a council have to think about. And then tax duplication just could devastate, our operating budget, if we don't figure this out. I think that what the county is doing is short-sighted. I think that the county forgets the wonderful things that the municipalities in Montgomery County provide, the services that we provide, the amount of money that the county is going to save is less than 1% of their entire budget.
So you give the council an incomplete.
There's a lot of work to do.
Okay.
Thank you. First of all, I'll say that I have been told in the past that I am very critical on rankings of people. And
I've told you.
And yeah, the mayor has told me that. But I think this has been a very good council the last 2 years, and I would give us a B minus, which is above the average council, but we still have a lot of room to grow. And I would also say that it would really take something special for me to give us an A plus.
I think I would agree with my colleague here sitting next to me. When I attend MML meetings, I've run into lots of people from across the state who say to me, "Gosh, we would like to be like you in the way you run your meetings." So I'm sort of like, I become wide-eyed and think, who, us? Really? And yeah, they say, and they go on and on about how well we do things. And that may be true, because I don't know how things are done in other municipalities, 150 some of them in the state of Maryland. But I do see inefficiencies in the way we work. I think all of us are in a constant learning curve. Sometimes I think the way we process new things is sometimes we give too short shrift to it. Other times I think we have wasted an enormous amount of time talking about and wrestling with stuff that's not that important. And you want to know how to fix all that? I don't know. But I think our future council, with all of us having more experience, will probably do a better job than the last two. That's my hope.
Thank you.
And I find myself having to agree with the tough grader at B minus. I contemplated, should it be a B or should it be a C, or no, I'll head for the middle. Should it be a C plus or a B minus? I'll settle in at B minus. And the main thing I want to say about that is that one of the things that I've felt about this council is that we've made some giant leaps in what we've attempted to do, some big things, some small things, and what I'm left with in thinking about those is that I worry that we can pay for everything that we want to do, so financial sustainability is a big concern for me, and tax duplication and a lot of other things we touched on get at financial sustainability, and we can want to have all the best programs and all of the best initiatives, and if they cost us money, we've got to be able to pay for them, and if we continue to pay for a lot more things, we become less affordable.
Okay.
I'm not changing my grade.
No, we gave you an A in humility.
Yes. Okay, well, I think it's getting pretty late here, so I think we should probably wrap it up.
Sure.
Okay?
Oh,
Although there's...
we have a question from the audience.
No, I just wanted to say, I wouldn't mind speaking to a couple of people from the audience in about 5 minutes. If any of you would be so kind to just stick around for only 5 minutes, that would be amazing. Thank you.
That's our reporter, Leela Sarkovic, who would like to talk to some of the people in the audience.
And so I guess as we're going out, I just want to actually thank all of you for being here tonight. This has been a new type of a forum. I agree, Mayor, that this is something that we can work on getting better at on this end, and it'd be great to be having regular discussions. Maybe we could even figure out different themes so that we could handle the volume of questions in a different way. But I think this is a really good format, and I'm telling you, the next time we do this, the first person who tweets will get either a beer or a root beer from The Voice. So as we go, and as I thank all of you...
Probably get one from Councilmember Smith.
Okay. No, nobody tweeted.
No, and we had no tweets.
So we're gonna
We
work on
tweetless.
this ahead of time, and if nothing else, the beer will get a tweet. Now, although they cannot consume it within
On city property.
on city property.
Not the beer, but the root beer you can.
Now, but thank all of you for coming out. Thank you for your questions. If we didn't get to your question, we still very much thank you for submitting it, and it gives us some direction to go with as we're setting our story budget. I encourage you to read The Voice online. It's Tacoma.com, pretty easy to remember. We're in a very, very different structure than we were 2 years ago when we were having a election forum for Councilmember Smith's seat. And at that moment, I was pretty sure that The Voice was maybe not going to be in print much longer. But we're online. We have a great managing editor, Bill Brown, who's managing the day-to-day operations of the Voice, and we are working out some very interesting strategies. So we asked you to read us online, to pass it along to your friends, tell us what we're getting wrong, tell us what we ought to be doing differently, and stay engaged in community journalism. So that's my little commercial. And with that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
smile takes me up to heaven's gate. And the tender way you kiss me turns 1 minute without you into an endless way. I don't know what I would do without you. Now I just don't have to wonder anymore, 'cause I got you, and woman, you got me too. The way you touch me makes me feel just like a king. And the sexy way you move me lets me know I don't have to worry about a thing. I don't know what I would do without you. Now I just don't have to wonder anymore, 'cause I got you, and woman, you got me too. When you wake up, I will be right by your side, giving all of my attention to the one who fills my heart with joy and pride. You are everything in life to me. Now I just don't have to wonder who to be, 'cause I got you, and woman, I got you, and boy, I got you, and woman, you got me too.